Hi everyone, welcome back to Crafting with Slappy. Today we are going to be making this adorable card using the Magic Iris Snowglobe add-on, which was part of the Lawn Fawn Fall Winter 2020 release, as well as the Snowglobe scenes, part of the same release. I wanted to play around with the add-on for the Magic Iris, so I made a couple of the cards. I'm going to link the other one above and to the right, so you can go check it out. That one I made first, this one I made second, and I took what I learned from the first one and I applied it to here, kind of. So I feel like with card making, you're bound to make mistakes. So this one is a little bit more complicated in the ink blending. So the other thing that I recently learned how to do is to add chapters. So if you would like to skip around, head down to the description box below, and I have added the different components of this card tutorial, and you can go to wherever your heart desires. While you're down there, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And if you like what you see, please hit the like button. I truly appreciate it. And back to the video. So I am using fired brick and aged mahogany to work on my little snow globe here. I am using, what type of tape is that? Sticky tape? Post-it tape. Post-it tape, that's the one. Sorry, I'm losing my words. To block off just the top. So I didn't want the body of this to be a different color, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So I also used fired brick and aged mahogany on the bottom of my scene to create a floor. And I'm using the Hillside stencils to do that. And the color that I'm using here is actually antique linen. And I didn't know how I felt about it until I went in with the tea dye. Holy Hannah. Love. So I'm using the brick stencil here, and the reason I used antique linen is because I wanted something that was really light for the grout for this brick. And when I use the tea dye, I'm starting to treat my ink blending in the same way that I do my COPIC coloring, which is that I'm looking for those shadows. And with backgrounds, I find that having the darker shadows on the outside coming in is the most aesthetically pleasing for my eye. I hope it is for you as well, because I just love it. And the antique linen did such a good job of being that light color that I was looking for in that brick grout. It was just perfect. And then my newly discovered love combination here is cracked pistachio and evergreen bough. And I just love how it's green, but it's a different color combination, which you don't normally see. But it goes so well. Like, it's still Christmassy, but different, which I really like. Okay, for my little background of the snow globe, I'm using tumbled glass, and I actually used it on my little die cut as well that I'm going to be using. And then I went back to, I think that's aged mahogany to go around the centers of my Magic Iris components. And this is purely for aesthetics, because when you're playing around with the mechanism, you do see the white of the cardstock. So it is a good idea to cover it up, unless that doesn't bother you. I find that it kind of bothers me, so I cover it up. Okay, moving on to the sausage pieces. I brought in fired brick, and I'm starting from the inside of the sausage piece, just in case I had some of that aged mahogany left over, because I'm using the same brush. And then I'm covering the whole sausage piece with the fired brick, and then going back over with the aged mahogany just in that inside of the sausage. And I did that for all three of them. And then I went back to my antique linen and tea dye combination to do the rest of the snow globe pieces, which is that, I don't even know what to call them. You'll see where they go though. It'll make sense in the end, I promise. And I totally goofed because when I was trying to do this, I was using antique linen in an effort to darken up the sides and wondering why it wasn't working. Yep, you can laugh at me. It's all good. I laughed at myself. I fixed it. The card wasn't finished before I noticed. Yay me. All right. And then I wanted a different color combination for the arrows. So I'm using my cracked pistachio and evergreen bough again. And like I mentioned in the previous video, you want to make sure there's contrast. So I went in with, I think that was aged mahogany only for the arrow, just to give it that little bit of contrast. And now we're moving on to the colorings. There's not a lot, but it is, you know, coloring mice, so it's adorable. I will be right back. Okay, so for those of you who are familiar with this stamp set, you'll know that I covered over the treetops with green ink. So that was me fixing it with a white gel pen. Okay, now the one thing that I did change in this card compared to the previous one that I did is I did glue the snow globe scene onto my little background first before I did anything else. Now for this sentiment, I thought it would be fun to add it to the actual snow globe. I felt like that was a missed opportunity in the previous one. I used the sentiment, oh my goodness, I don't even know, Winter Skies. Yes, it came from Winter Skies. And I think that's right. Maybe it was Ho Ho Holidays. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. I'm going to have to go back and check. I think it was Ho Ho Holidays. And I lined it up. I heat embossed it, and I went at it with the gold embossing powder. And I did all this at the same time that I did this little label here. And because I couldn't use the one on the previous card, I just repeated it here. So it's the Joy to You, I think. Oh my goodness. I might have to go back and check. And I used the gold embossing powder on both of them, and I heat set them at the same time. If you move quickly enough, you can totally do this without the ink drying out and the embossing powder not melting properly. I had no issues, so you should be fine as well. Okay, now to the assembly. We are taking our flux capacitor piece, cutout thing, and putting our sausage pieces in it. And I am gluing them down with some washi tape, which is a temporary tape. You don't want to use anything permanent. And then I'm attaching the 3/16 glue dots, or the mini dots as they are called, to the X on the sausage piece, which you can kind of see because of the dark color of my ink blending. I'm taking another ring, putting it on, and then I'm removing my temporary tape. This middle ring is what makes the magic iris work. It is what makes it open and close. So that's exciting. Then I have my little stabilizer pieces, and up top on the right, I'm going to link the Lawn Fawn video for how to assemble the magic iris, just in case this is confusing for you. And you can go back and check it out. So once those are all attached, I'm going to flip it back over, and I am going to attach my little handle. And I mentioned this previously, I do like to use two. So I put one on the front, and you want to put it so that it creates kind of a triangle with that stabilizer piece at the bottom. And then I take the other one and I actually adhere it from the bottom so that it's kind of attached on both sides. And I just, for my OCD brain, it just makes it more stable. Now this is where my goof was. You actually attach the third ring before you start doing this. It ended up working out for me because when I ripped those off, they actually took the paper with them, so there was no adhesive left, so that was fine. Yay! Mistakes that don't ruin your card. Woohoo! Alright. Now, when you are putting those little stabilizer pieces on, you want to make sure that they don't go all the way to the center of the iris there, because they need to be a little bit loose so that the middle ring can actually move back and forth. And then I went and attached my arrow and my arrow. That's a lot of arrows. Sorry, guys. So this time I learned my lesson, and I'm attaching my little pieces to the Snowglobe here. But my lesson that I learned from the previous card was that I wanted to line this up with my card base to make sure that my arrow piece actually made its way where it needed to be and not magically make it somewhere else. All right, so I lined it all up. Looks pretty good. Even decided to put the glue on while it was on there. You want to make sure you're doing this in the closed position because that's how the recipient is going to get it. And then I attached the snow globe. Life is good. Open it up. Make sure that it's really attached. And this time I decided to just use the white cutout for the light accent and onto the assembly of the card. So I am taking the base and putting it on the front of my card base. And I'm making sure that everything still lines up properly. Putting my foam tape on, just the bottom because the rest of it is bulky enough. You can see that I folded those pieces in so they don't stick out when the magic iris moves back and forth. And I did not adhere it before attaching the center. Yay me! That gives you a little bit of wiggle room. You can make sure it's nice and centered. And then you're attaching the magic iris bit just where the stabilizers are so you don't impede the movement of the sausage pieces there. And just press it all down, fiddle back and forth, make sure everything works. And then I went and attached my little mice. So it's just the three of them from Dandy Day. And they're hanging out looking at the snow globe because somebody dropped it off, or maybe they found it, or maybe they took it. Criminal mice, maybe? No. Too cute. Too cute. They got it as a Christmas present. At least that's what I think in my head. All right, so we are nearing the end of this card. I want to thank you so much for sticking around with me and watching to the end. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed what you saw and it inspired you to go out there and create. Please hit the like button if you haven't yet. And again, if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks so much, you guys. And at the end, you'll see that I have linked to another playlist. It's the rest of my holiday card series in case you've missed any of them. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.